Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Surprise Jab Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Ruger, surprising you with new topics every single week and jabbing you with your daily dose of UFC. And oh my goodness, there's just been so much going on since the last episode aired on Monday. I mean, so much UFC news has dropped. We have a lot to cover. This episode is going to be a fun one. We have a very intriguing surprise topic on this episode. Stay tuned for that. Of course, we're going to be recapping the season finale, the final episode of Dana White's Contender Series for Season 7. We're going to be talking a bit about the upcoming boxing events that are going on. I mean, you have Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou. You have KSI versus Tommy Fury, Dylan Dance versus Logan Paul, all that goofy stuff. Obviously, going to be doing a little MLB check-in on the playoffs for this episode. Talking about all the new fight announcements, obviously. And, of course, the two big ones, my NFL Week 6 predictions. That's right, we're already into Week 6 of the NFL. By the time a majority of you listen to this, probably the Thursday night football game between the Chiefs and Broncos should be over, but all the Sunday games are still to come and the Monday game. And of course, to cap off the episode, we will be previewing UFC Vegas 81, betterwise known as UFC Fight Night, Sodiq Yusuff versus Edson Barbosa, two top 15 featherweights. We have a lot to cover, and I'm very excited, guys. The week almost over. It's been an all right week. Been dealing with some things, some thoughts, if you will. I don't really know what's been going on, but, you know, life's been pretty good, man. I can't complain. The weather's changing, I will say. It was rainy today. Getting the company off the ground, of course. I'm in a company, part of the my program for Minnesota State University. It's like the integrated business experience. We're called Evergrowing Co. As I've mentioned on some past episodes. Follow the Instagram and Facebook. Probably post more on Actually, I post the same, but I know more about Instagram than Facebook. And I will say we do have a TikTok, but I have yet to make one. Of course, I'm the social media director, but I just can't think of anything we should post on there. So if anyone has any ideas, that would be very much appreciated. But let's not waste any more time. We got a lot to dive into. Let's get going. And we're going to kick off with, of course, your jab of UFC. Going to be a lot of that on here. But we have had so many fight announcements. Let's talk about the big ones. Charles Oliveira and Paulo Costa, both out of their UFC 294 matchups. Of course, UFC 294, the biggest pay-per-view of the fall season, going down October 21st in Abu Dhabi. Less than 10 days away now, I believe. And Paulo Costa out of his matchup against Khamzat Chimaev because of a infected elbow or something. He got surgery on it. I believe he got infected. Absolutely terrible stuff. But Dana White said, let me save the day. And number one ranked welterweight contender Kamaru Usman is moving up in weight to take on Khamzat Chimaev at 185 pounds. And to make this fight even more interesting, Dana White said the winner will take on Sean Strickland for the middleweight championship in their next bout. Very, very huge news there. Early prediction, I'm probably going with Khamzat. But Kamaru is going to be the toughest fight of his career. And seeing how he dealt with Gilbert Burns will be interesting to see how he deals with Kamaru Usman. It is kind of funny that the number 1 and number 4 welterweight contenders are fighting at middleweight and they get the next title shot, but I honestly don't mind it. The UFC's punishing number 2 ranked Dricus du Plessis for not accepting a fight with Adesanya. But hey, it all worked out. Sean won the belt. And fun fact, Kamaru Usman actually holds a win over Sean Strickland at welterweight back when Sean Strickland used to fight down there early in his career. So there's a storyline there. And of course, Khamzat Chimaev is just such a beast, so entertaining. Who doesn't want to see him fight? The other big one, Charles Oliveira, unfortunately out of his fight against Islam Makhachev. The rematch, unfortunately not going down. Charles suffered a nasty cut on his eye in camp and is unfortunately not going to be able to. But stepping in on 10 days' notice, your featherweight champion, the number 2 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, Alexander the Great Volkanovski, steps in to rematch Islam Makhachev. Isn't it crazy they fought in February? Isn't it crazy, like, February was this year. Like, they fought earlier this year. It's just crazy how fast time flies by. The rematch no one was expecting so soon, I should say, going down. I am so excited for that fight. And I mean, I'm riding with Volkanovski in that one, boys. You know I got to ride with Volk. I picked Islam in the first one, but Volk just such a beast. Got to go with him. But it's going to be such a good fight. Volk going for double champ status. Islam looking for his second win over Volk and his second title defense, third title fight. Good for that. But yeah, UFC 294 slowly coming together. I know the middle card, the main card keeps shifting around a bit. I'm so excited to talk about that next week, though. Stay tuned for that full breakdown to come. In some other fighting news, the UFC Fight Night on December 2nd, rumored to be in UFC Austin. I believe it's actually official now. Sadly, not in Minneapolis. I heard rumors that it was in Minneapolis, but sadly, nothing came of that. A lot of loaded fights on that card. But the main event is rumored to be number 1 flyweight and number 3 flyweight Brandon Moreno and Amir Albazi in the main event. 5 rounds. Brandon Moreno, of course, the former flyweight champion. Actually, he's a 2-time flyweight champion, isn't he? And Amir Albazi coming off a huge fight night victory over Kai Kara France this summer. An absolutely amazing card that's going to be. And I hope that is the fight because my issue is actually like both of those guys, so it's going to be tough to pick between them. On a lesser scale, Alonzo Menefield and Dustin Jacoby have a light heavyweight matchup slated for UFC 296. Most likely on the prelims, number 15 Justin, number 14 Alonzo in the light heavyweight rankings. This should be a very good matchup there. Devin Clark is probably who I'm favoring for that. I'm trying to think if we've had any other massive announcements since I last spoke with you all. I know we mentioned that Derek Lewis is stepping in on short notice to fight Halton Almeida at UFC Sao Paulo November 4th. And Curtis and Marc-Andre Brault will be fighting in the middleweight division at UFC 297 in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And as for that Toronto card, which is UFC 297, going out at the Scotiabank Arena, January 20th, I've been hearing that Max Holloway may be fighting Ida Topuria for an interim featherweight championship. Max, the number 1 contender, Ida, the number 5 contender. And my only issue with that is it would work better if Ida Topuria won, but if Max Holloway wins, it just doesn't really work to have him fight Volk a 4th time. It just doesn't. It almost would feel like if Max were to win that, which I don't think he would, it'd kind of be like how Adesanya lost to Alex Pereira 3 times and then finally won on the 4th time. Obviously, it felt good, but it's kind of like, okay, it took you 4 times to beat this man. Not much really going on for you there. But yes, lots of big fights being announced. Super exciting stuff. And I just can't wait to see what else gets announced in the coming days. Actually, also, March 2nd, the UFC is going to Saudi Arabia for a fight night. I know, absolutely crazy. No idea who's going to main event that card. But yeah, the UFC's first time in Saudi Arabia, March 2nd, a fight night. Not even a pay-per-view. UFC is just leveling up their game. I know Dana White mentioned he wants to hold an event in the Sphere in Las Vegas, which is this crazy dome-shaped looking auditorium. I don't even know how to describe it. It's just immaculate. So that would be very cool if he could put that together. But yeah, lots of new fights, lots of events being announced. Super exciting stuff. And I hope all these fights can actually stay together. But I think it's pretty crazy that UFC 294 got better with the pullouts of Paulo Costa and Charles Oliveira. Even though I both like those Brazilian fighters, it just works out how it works out. In the boxing realm, we have some interesting boxing events coming up. We'll talk about the one going down this upcoming weekend between Logan Paul, Dylan Dennis, those two will be boxing, and Tommy Fury and KSI will be boxing. I was trying to find like a official, I think it's being hosted by DAZN. It's like Misfits or something. I think that's like KSI's brand or whatever. But Logan Paul, Dylan Dennis, the co-main event, and of course KSI versus Tommy Fury in the main event going down Saturday, October 14th in the UK. Start time is 1 p.m. Central or 2 p.m. Eastern. I just base everything off Central because that's my time. And I was actually trying to figure out the full card. It's certainly very interesting. I mean, KSI, Tommy Fury undefeated, KSI undefeated. But, I just feel Tommy Fury should beat KSI unless KSI can land some wild punch. But if it all works out, I would favor Tommy Fury in that matchup. As for Logan Paul and Dylan Dennis, obviously Logan Paul is most likely going to win, but it would be so hilarious if Dylan Dennis won. If they ever fought in MMA, Dylan would obviously submit Logan Paul, but that's just not the case here. You also have Salt, Poppy, and Slim fighting for the Misfits middleweight title. I recognize both those names, but I don't know too much about them. I do recognize on the prelims card, you have Chase Demore versus Tempo Arts for the Misfits heavyweight title. Chase Demore, obviously former XFL football player, former reality TV star. I always see that guy on the socials. And they also have a tag team boxing title between Nikelmo and Alex Wasabi taking on Luis Pineda and B-Dave. I don't even know what to say about any of that. I will say one thing that is quite interesting. I mean, Dylan Dennis is 30 and Logan Paul is 28. I mean, it's just, I grew up watching these guys and they were so young. More Logan Paul than Dylan Dennis. But I just find it crazy how everyone's just growing kind of older. And actually, Logan Paul oddly has a 0-1-2 boxing record. Logan Paul has actually not won a boxing match in his career. And as for Dylan Dennis, he's 2-0 in MMA. But other than that, he has done nothing. A more professional event, we'll say, going down October 28th, Saturday, Halloween weekend, if you will, going to be super fun, as Tyson Fury, the undefeated heavyweight king, Tyson Fury, welcomes Francis Ngannou, former UFC heavyweight champion, to the boxing square. I was going to say octagon, but no, the boxing square. It's going to be a 10-round bout, obviously professional for both of these guys, going down in Saudi Arabia. Of all places. I mean, Tyson Fury last fought, I believed it was April of 2022. He knocked out Dylan White in a matchup in London and retired. But actually, he did return. Actually, I'm pretty sure last fall, or was it he fought Derek Chisora or whatever, TKO'd him? I have no idea. He's been doing his thing. I know Alexander Usyk and Anthony Joshua have been calling him out, two heavyweight giants. So it should be very interesting, especially with Francis Ngannou signing with the PFL. They have interesting contracts of sorts. But I mean, Francis Ngannou has the power. It'll be interesting to see how that translates into boxing because he can't throw leg kicks, he can't shoot for takedowns. I don't know. I'm probably going with Tyson Fury for that. But as an MMA guy, I won't. I'm not going to bet on it. I'm not going to give an official prediction. But I do think that if Francis Ngannou wins, it would be pretty incredible. But my official pick would probably be for Tyson Fury. The event itself is $80 on ESPN Plus, which I find ridiculous. I just do not think that is reasonable in the slightest. And I think I'm pretty sure that KSI event is also like $60 or $70. I better things to spend my money on, like UFC 5 and a new Xbox controller. And actually, he's 33-0 needed with one draw, or by knockout. He's got 6 foot in reach with 83 inches. I'm pretty sure that I was going to say that he had boxing fights before, but I think they're MMA fights. I mean, MMA, for instance, Ngannou is 17-3 with 12 wins via knockout. He is just an absolute beast. I don't really know anyone else fighting on the card. There is a heavyweight match. Sounds like out of Lord of the Rings. That's all I got for that. But yeah, okay, does anyone know who Fabio Wardley, or co-main, if you will, for this Tyson Fury Francis Ngannou card? I mean, I know like my realm personally. I do mind it. I really am I'm such a casual when it comes to boxing. I'm definitely more super fights. Certainly the undercard fights don't entertain me that much, which I find that kind of interesting because I can sit through an entire UFC fight night and watch all the prelims, whether they're good, whether they're bad. I just enjoy it. Just MMA, man. Is just such an intriguing sport. It is so mental. It is so it's different that it's not a team sport, but you have your team, you obviously have your coaches, but at the end of the day, it's just you versus another person, and you have to be physically better than them. And that is more easy said than done. But yes, Francis Ngannou, of course, taking on Tyson Fury. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Getting off of the boxing realm, we're going to dive into the MLB playoffs. Not really dive into, I'm just going to mention my Minnesota Twins. I'm a casual when it comes to MLB, so I'll just give you all a little info. Twins lost. The Houston Astros win 3-1 in the series. They'll advance to the ALCS Championship. Was that the American League Championship Series? Conference Series? I don't know. And the Texas Rangers, number 5 seeded, beat the number 1 seeded Baltimore Orioles 3-0 in the series, 3-0. So you have your number 5 seed Rangers and your number 2 seed Astros. Winner will be going to the World Series to represent the ALCS. And I know today, Thursday, October 12th, the Philadelphia Phillies are playing the Atlanta Braves, which is with a chance to advance to the NLCS, National League Championship, or Conference Series. I don't know what it is. But if not, then they will probably play this weekend, the Braves versus the Phillies. But the Diamondbacks, the 6-seeded Diamondbacks, beat the number 2-seeded Dodgers in their series 3-0 to advance to the NLCS. So they'll play the winner of the Phillies and the Braves to go to the World Series. And, I'm going to ride with the Astros to represent again. I think they won last year, if I'm not speaking incorrectly. But I'd say if the Phillies advance, I think the Diamondbacks win. But I think if the Braves advance, then they'll advance. And I'm probably just going to go with the Astros at this point to win the World Series. I don't really care anymore now the Twins are out. And honestly, I didn't care before that because I am not a what would you call it, MLB fan. I have nothing against it. I just find it boring. Personally, I played baseball way back in the day, way when I was a little Zach. But now I just watch fighting. That's what I do. But yes, that's your little MLB check-in. I'll probably do whatever next episode. But yeah, it's that time of year when hockey's starting. I saw that the number 1 pick, Connor Bedard, scored his first NHL goal last night, even though the Blackhawks lost. And I think the Wild's home opener is tonight. Two of my buddies are actually going to it, so good for them. And you also have the NBA kicking off soon. No idea what's going on with the Timberwolves. Mess over there. But then you also have NFL. So you have all 4 big American sports going down at once. I'm always intrigued by that. Always find it fun. Let's get back into the MMA territory of things with a send-off. Actually, it's not going to be a send-off for Dana White's Contender Series. Season 7 came to an end this past Tuesday. And I've been debating this, going back and rewatching the entire season and picking out some of the best moments and going through them. But I feel like that would work better in a YouTube video format. I'll see, but nonetheless, we're going to go through the 6 fights that went down. I watched all 6 of them, and it was lots of fun. So we kicked off the night. Davey Bittencourt taking on Lucas Rocha in a bantamweight fight. And fight kicks off. Good scrambling in the first minute between both fighters. I mean, your stats for round 1, though. Davey Bittencourt staying dominant. 5 for 14 on takedowns. 20-2 in significant strikes. 30-8 in total strikes. 4 minutes of control time. Davey Bittencourt using his grappling to his advantage to win round 1, gave him a 10-9. But round 2 kicks off, and Lucas Rocha's like, you know what? This guy is not beating me, and hits a incredible knee, knocks him out cold, face plants some Lucas Rocha. Oh my goodness. It was absolutely crazy. Keep this kid on your radar. Lucas Rocha knocks Davey Bittencourt out cold 18 seconds into round 2. And at 23 years old, he improves to 17-1. This guy's going places. His nickname is Phenomeno, and he was phenomenal without a doubt. And I predicted he would get a contract, but I'll let you guys know later if they got a contract or not. But Lucas Rocha got the night going beautifully. Heading into the next matchup, we had Marquel Medeiros taking on Isa Isakova in the men's lightweight division. And you know what? It was going pretty back and forth just for the first round. And I mean, Isa Isakova went 0 for 8 on takedowns, a minute and a half of control just from pressuring on the fence. Marquel was outlanding him on the feet, 25-8 total strikes, 24-8 significant strikes, until he hits him with a knee, standing knee, knocks him out cold, back-to-back, not even flying knees, just raising the knee to knock out guys to kick off the card. Marquel Medeiros in the lightweight division. So entertaining. Oh my gosh, just a perfect way to start the evening. Marquel Medeiros improving to 8-1. At 26 years of age. I believe he's 26 years of age. I don't know. Oh, my gosh. Marquel Medeiros, I predicted he would get a contract. We'll see what happened. But, man, it was so entertaining. Next up, we had a middleweight matchup between Yuri, the Russian polar bear, Panafriov. On the last episode I mentioned, I loved his nickname. He was taking on Torres, the Punisher Finney. And, man, right from the get-go, things got crazy. I mean, Torres goes over, picks Finney up, walks around with him, and just slams him to the ground. It was absolutely crazy. Did some grappling, but, Torres, after he got dropped, Yuri outlanded him significant strikes-wise, 15-0. No significant strikes in round one for Torres Finney. Pure grappling. Yuri outstrikes him 26-6. Torres gets 4 minutes, though, of control time, which definitely won him round one. Gave him a little 10-9. Round two, they come out. They are swinging hard. These boys were looking to take each other's heads off. Torres Finney, though, 2 for 3 on takedowns, 25-3 in total strikes. Yuri just could not defend against the takedowns of Torres Finney. Torres gets him down, submits him in round two with a little bit of that rear naked chokehold. The old rear naked chokehold gets Torres Finney the victory. And I honestly thought he was going to get a contract, but we'll see later what happened to him. But I will say that he was leaving his chin out there, and it's just Yuri's fault. He could not knock out Torres Finney. Then we had a featherweight matchup. Conor Matthews taking on Jair Farias. Conor's second time on the Contender Series. He had lost to Francis Marshall last season on episode 2, season 6 that was. He was back for revenge, and oh my goodness. It was a very competitive round one, I will say. Grappling, Matthews was definitely going more for a grappling approach. Striking was going for Ferreras, I should say. Throwing some hard strikes, but Conor Matthews, I'm going to give round 1 to, total strikes 25-15. Significant-wise, 15 for both men. Conor did go 3 for 4 on takedowns for just under 2 minutes of control time, so I think that's what won him the round, but it was looking pretty interesting. Round 2, another interesting round. Conor Matthews, 3 for 6 on takedowns, 1:37 of control time. Outstrikes him 33-17, significant-wise 31-17. And yeah, just one round one. Conor was teeing off with some of his punches, definitely trying to take his head off. Conor was doing his thing. Heading into round 3, round 3 was close. Round 3 was much closer than the other two, in my opinion. I gave it to Matthews. I had it 30-27 Matthews after the fight was over. Matthews 1 for 2 on takedowns in the final round, 1 minute and 16 seconds of control time. 34-25, significant and total strike-wise. And yeah, your totals, there's totals for the end of the fight. 80 significant strikes to 57, 93 total to 57. Both in favor of Matthews as he goes 7 for 12 on takedowns for 4 minutes and 41 seconds around of control time, I should say. And Conor Matthews wins the fight. 30-27, 30-27, 29-28, according to the judges. By unanimous decision. And you know what? I did have him winning a contract. I did write a question mark next to the name. I was a bit nervous on him, but the UFC always loves seeing guys who lose or even just win on one episode of the Contender Series, and they bring them back. They love seeing them win again. They just find that very entertaining. But yes, we move into our second to last fight of the night, our flyweight, the smallest weight class for the men, flyweight 125 pounds, as Conor Matthews improving to 7-1, by the way. Got to give the controller Conor Matthews his due. We back to the co-main. Andre Lima took on Rickson Zenidim. Certainly an interesting matchup between these two. Round 1, Lima was on the attack. My goodness, Andre Lima was just trying to knock his head off. Super entertaining, and Lima was honestly dominating. Wins round 1, 10-9, 22-13 significant strikes, 23-13 in total strikes. And Rickson went over 2 on takedowns, just could not get it done. But then round 2, tides turning a bit. Rickson Zenidim was managed to actually no, tides did not turn. Actually, I was thinking of the previous fight, Conor Matthews and Jair Ferreras. And Rickson Zenidim versus Andre Lima. They both kind of blended together just because they all went the distance. But yeah, Rickson got outstruck 15-9 significant-wise, 20-10 total-wise. It was a very lame round 2, actually. I have that down in my notes. Lima easily won 10-9. And heading into round 3, a bit more urgency from Zenidim. Actually, yes, I remember this fight now. Rickson Zenidim was retreating the whole fight, and Andre Lima was just trying to knock him out with that one-punch power. Outstruck him in the final round, 42-12, landed a takedown for 2 minutes of control time. Lima easily won 30-27. All the judges agreed, and I said no contract because I remembered the fight was just very dull. But we'll get back to what happened. But yes, it was Rickson Zenidim who was lacking in this fight. Andre Lima was a stud. My bad for getting those mixed up. And then we got into our main event, the final fight of the night, if you will. Ramon Taveras taking on Cortavius Romias. Ramon's second time on the Contender Series. He had lost earlier on the season, episode 5, but it was under not so good circumstances, early ref stoppage. The UFC called him back to take on Cortavius. And oh my goodness, 29 seconds into round 1, Ramon TKOs him, drops him with a punch. Absolutely crazy. Ramon Taveras, round 1 knockout in 29 seconds, one of the fastest on the Contender Series. I have in my notes, yes, contract in bold letters. Ramon Taveras, you absolute stud, improving to 9-2. Oh, and I forgot to mention Andre Lima improved to 7-0 in the other fight. But yes, Ramon Taveras with the best finish of the night, in my opinion. 29 seconds, you gotta love it. And then we got to I said he would win a contract, obviously. As we got to the results, Dana gave Lucas Rocha a contract, called his knee knockout one of the nastiest knockouts he's ever seen on the Contender Series. He loved Lucas Rocha. He's in the UFC. Next up, he talked about Marquel Medeiros, liked everything about Medeiros. He said he got the contract. Now we got to Torres Finney, who got his grappling victory, rear naked chokehold against Yuri Panfarov. Dana called him a wrecking ball, said he just needs some more experience. Torres Finney, by the way, only 7-0. He's also 25 years old, so very young. Dana said that he just needs to get some more fights under his belt, and they'll bring him into the UFC. But yeah, Torres Finney not getting a contract. Conor Matthews, though, Dana White said he cannot deny him another chance. He gave him the contract. He liked what he saw. Conor Matthews, welcome to the UFC. Dana White said that he liked Lima. He's an absolute sniper. Mentioned how you need 2 to tango, and that Rick Needham was lacking. So Andre Lima gets a contract. Good for him. And oh my goodness, you witnessed live matchmaking on the Contender Series last night, actually, as Dana White gave Ramon Taveras a contract, obviously, and is making a rematch with Sergey Sade, who beat him and actually got a UFC contract, and they're making that fight for UFC 297. Absolutely crazy. A rematch from the Contender Series for these guys as UFC debut. I love it. It was a very fun season. Definitely, these 3 of the 4 finishes on this card were super entertaining, and I'd say 3 of the 6 fights are also entertaining. Best moment, definitely Ramon Taveras winning. Probably Lucas Rocha's knee, then Marquel Medeiros' knee. Probably the Conor Matthews fight, then the Torres Finney fight, then the Andre Lima fight. So yeah, a lot of interesting fights on Dana White's Contender Series, but that's it. That's season 7. No more fights on Tuesdays, probably until next summer or something. I don't even know when they kick back up, but it was fun. I enjoyed season 7. It brought me lots of joy, lots of happiness. It was a blast. But yeah, now my Tuesday nights are wide open. So if anyone wants to do anything, let me know. Just kidding. Dana White's Contender Series, an absolute joy to watch. Very, very, very fun. Very fun. I'll have to go back, maybe look through all the episodes, if you will, and pick out the best fights. But off the top of my head, I just can't really picture any. But yeah, good cap off to the season. Ramon Taveras leaving us with a bang. I loved it. And yeah, we'll take a little break from UFC for a minute as we'll dive into the fun, the American NFL football. That's right. Week 6, as I mentioned earlier, already coming around the corner. Just absolutely crazy. It's just absolutely crazy how fast the weeks fly by. We're already back on with another week, another chance for fantasy football to be good. But yeah, we got I don't know if there's any buys this week, actually. Are there some buys? I think there may be 2 teams on bye. I can't remember, but we got a lot of matchups. And as always, we got to drop our predictions for each matchup. Let's get into it. Kicking off week 6 of the NFL tonight, actually, we have the Denver Broncos taking on the Kansas City Chiefs at 7:15. Man, this should be a good matchup here. Chiefs now 4-1, leading the division. I don't really know the last time the Broncos beat the Chiefs. I don't think the Broncos beat the Chiefs last year. I think the Chiefs swept them. Then actually they played earlier this year, I think, January 1st of last season, and I think the Chiefs won by 3, 27-24. But I mean, Travis Kelce back in play. I do not see the Broncos getting it done. They're 1-4 now. They've given up 181 points, and they're facing the Chiefs, who've scored 128 points this season. So we're probably gonna ride with the Chiefs. Yes, the Chiefs. That's in my picks. I always do my picks on Excel sheet, so sometimes I have to double check the matchups as I'm looking. But yeah, I'm gonna need big games from Isaiah Pacheco, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes. I think I'm benching Cortland Sutton. So by the way, I have 4 leagues, so when I mention all these players, it's across 4 leagues. So I have a lot of players. I'm in 2 12-man, a 10-man, and a 6-man. And, I'll say in 1 12-man, I'm doing good. My 6-man, I'm 0-5. It's just okay. Not the best, but, it's still time to turn around. Like my Vikings, they'll turn around. We'll get to them later. Next up for the week, we have the Ravens and the Titans. Always love matchups like these. No, I don't. Going to be probably dull. The Ravens are 3-2. The Titans are 2-3. Titans, I believe they're coming off of a loss from last week, and as are the Ravens. Both teams suffering losses to the Steelers and the Colts. Lamar. Here's the issue with the Ravens is they're so hit or miss. Titans even worse. But I just think because of Lamar Jackson, that's the only reason I can give this to the Ravens. If the Ravens defense steps up, they can easily stop this Titans offense. So we'll go with the Ravens over the Titans. Moving on to the Lions at the Buccaneers. Buccaneers coming off of their bye week. Lions have been red hot. Oh my goodness. Only one barn burner loss to the Seahawks on the season. And the Bucs, man, looking pretty good too. They're 3-1. They're leading the NFC South at the moment. Scored 84 points on the year, which isn't too bad through 4 games. Lions, though, 4-1, 148 points for. They're on a little 3-fight winning streak. 3-fight winning streak. 3-fight. I've said it again. 3-game winning streak. We're going to be going with the Lions in this one. They're probably going to improve to 5-1. And at this point, the Lions are locking up the division. So I don't know. I still have hope for the Vikings, but it goes dimmer and dimmer every week. Next up, Panthers versus the Dolphins. I mean, Panthers are just 0-5. Not much looking good. Adam Thielen looks good. Bryce Young doesn't look terrible. The running back room certainly looks atrocious. Hey, Nurse, a simple tight end. But you're not stopping this Dolphins offense, especially this defense of the Panthers. Dolphins have 181 points for. They're 4-1, coming off of a big win last week. Tua, Tyreek, gonna tear it up, and Raheem Mostert better pop off. I have him in multiple leagues. I need some spicy stuff from Raheem Mostert because Devin Achaney's out. Devin Achaney is on IR, I believe, which is very sad. Rookie of the year still could be his. Heading on down to Louisiana. Oh, we're not in Louisiana. We're in Texas. The Saints are visiting the Texans. And the Saints are coming off of a dominant win over the Patriots. Texans coming off a close loss to the Falcons. I mean, Texans are now 2-3. I'm sure a lot of people didn't think they would have 2 wins at this point. But the Saints, NFC South is heating up. The Saints are 3-2. Only giving up 76 points through the first 5 games of the year. That's pretty impressive. But coming off of a big win, I think they're going to be riding high, and I just don't think the Texans are going to be able to stop them, even if I do think the Texans have some better offensive weapons. But we're going to go with Dameon Pierce. No, we're actually going to go with who else do I have? Chris Olave and the Saints. I was debating going with the Texans, but I can't expect too much out of this Texans team. So we're going to pick the Saints to beat the Texans. This actually reminds me, I got to do my check-in with Dane, of course, a guest we had, and we talked about NFL for 2 hours. And we'll have to give a little sneak peek on every team, the season, where we're at, stuff like that. Moving over to Atlanta from Texas, we go to the Commanders at the Falcons. Commanders, oh my goodness. I don't know if they're going to come out for redemption or if they just suck all of a sudden, but they're now 2-3, 3-fight. I keep saying that. I'm going to be saying that in a bit, but 3-game losing streak after starting a perfect 2-0. Just lost to the Bears by 20 at home. Sam Howell was looking good. Logan Thomas was looking good. But, I don't know what the issue is. Probably the defense. The defense is probably the issue, except for Chase Young. Chase Young is good on the defensive line, but other than that, not much. As for their opponent, the Falcons, 3-2, decent team. They're 3-2. They have 3 wins, but their points for to points against is 83 to 96. So they're actually minus 13 for their points for to points against, which is pretty funny as a 3-2 team. I'm gonna say the Falcons. I'm gonna say the Falcons win at home. They get one at home. I just think the Commanders are just. I think Bijan and Ty can run through the. But actually it was the backfield that was given. DJ Moore popped off. So if Terry McLaurin, if Drake London, maybe Kyle Pitts could get some stuff done, Falcons could shred the backfield. But I just think in general, I'm going to go with this Falcons team at home against the Commanders team who's on a 3-game losing streak. Next up, we have the Colts at the Jaguars. We're heading on to Jacksonville. I wish I was in Florida. But yes, is this divisional? It is divisional. Jaguars 3-2, Colts 3-2, tied atop the AFC South. Jaguars on a little 2-game winning streak. Colts coming off a big win over, we mentioned who the Colts played last week. They beat the Titans, it was, yes. They beat the Titans. Zach Moss is looking like a stud for this Colts team. And Anthony Richardson out on IR, I believe. You got Gardner Minshew, though. He's super talented. But this Jaguars team slowly finding themselves. Calvin Ridley always having a good game. Christian Kirk always popping off. When Zay Jones can partake, he's always a weapon. Evan Ingram even at the tight end position. And Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, tearing it up. I'm going with the Jaguars over the Colts. I just got something about this Jaguars team. I think they're going to do well. Another one of my interesting picks of this week, week 6, Seahawks at Bengals. I'm going to go with the Seahawks. I'm actually going to go with the Seahawks. Coming off of a bye week. This team, the Bengals, by the way, 2-3. Kind of rebuilding. They're coming off of a win on Monday night. But, this Seahawks team, 3-1, coming off the bye, a little 3-game winning streak. Got a plus 20. And the points for to points against 111 to 91. And Kenneth Walker's looking good. DK's looking good. Geno slinging the ball. Defense even not looking too shabby. We're going to go with the Seahawks. But honestly, don't underestimate the Bengals at home. I just got to pick one upset of the week. Obviously Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon, Joe Burrow could tear through the Seahawks defense, but we'll see what happens. And then we'll get on to my favorite matchup of the week every single week as my Minnesota Vikings visit the rival Chicago Bears. And I know some people are going to sleep on us this week saying, okay, Chicago, they're coming off of a win. Vikings are 1-4, but guess what? The Bears are 1-4. All right, when the Vikings are minus 12 in points for to points against. We have 110 points for, 122 points against. The Bears have 115 points for and 157 points against. All right, they are minus 42. Okay, we're better than this Bears team. We're going to humble Justin Fields, and we're going to take out the Bears. And we're going to move to 2-4, and we'll be feeling much better confidence-wise. But yes, we're going with the Vikings, even though Justin Jefferson isn't playing. We still got Jordan Addison. We got KJ Osborne. You got Hawkinson. You got Powell out there now. This Vikings team can get it done. Plus, Khalil Herbert's hurt. Rashawn Johnson's hurt. As long as we lock down DJ Moore, we should be chilling. So, Vikings, I'm going to win. That's probably my lock of the week, personally. Keeping it rolling and keeping their season rolling, the 49ers are going to head down to Cleveland. Actually head over to Cleveland from San Francisco and probably run a train through whatever's going on with the Browns. The 49ers, the number 1 team in the league, 5-0, 167 points for, only 68 points allowed. That is a plus 99. Absolutely crazy. They have a 2-game lead over the Seahawks. This 49ers team is special. Christian McCaffrey, you could argue he could be an MVP if he keeps putting up these numbers. George Kittle whining and dining every single week. Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, weapons. Oh my goodness, this is a very talented team. Browns are 2-2, also coming off of a bye week, coming off of a loss. They are plus 16 in the points for to points against, but I don't know what's going on in Cleveland. They got injuries happening. You got Myles Garrett on the defense, but we got to ride with the 49ers in this one. But hey, at home, maybe the Browns pull off an upset. I can't speak for what will happen, but it should be a pretty interesting matchup. But obviously, we're going with the 49ers, and I need Christian McCaffrey to do good personally. Patriots taking on the Raiders in Las Vegas. Let me just make this brief. I'm going with the Raiders. The Patriots might possibly be one of the worst teams in the league, if not the worst, compared to the Panthers. Patriots are 1-4. They have only scored 55 points. This is the worst offense in the league. They've given up 131 points. I don't even know what to say. This is just a terrible team. The only thing I can ask of Mac Jones or Bailey Zappi, whoever plays, is pass the ball to Hunter Henry. Please. He had 2 amazing weeks to start the season and has fallen off so hard. That's all I'm going to ask of this team. It is rough going if you're a Pats fan. Definitely a fall off from the Tom Brady era. That's all I'll say. Keeping it rolling, we got the Cardinals and the Rams. Cardinals visiting the Rams. And you know what? I'm sorry, I was on this Josh Dobbs train for like the last few weeks. But they kind of hit a roadblock. Cardinals kind of ran into an issue. They are now 1-4, 2-game losing streak. Minus, what are they, 26? I think they're minus actually 28. They're minus 28 points, 40 points against. I don't know if they should tank. I don't know if they should wait for Kyler Murray to come back. I don't know what to do with the Cardinals personally, and I don't really need anything of them. But the running back looked good. What's his name? DiMarcano? Does anyone know who I'm talking about? I'm trying to remember his first name. He actually had a pretty good week coming in. What is it? Imari DiMarcano. Yeah, had 10 carries for 45 yards and a touchdown. Not too shabby. When you have injuries and you got to work with it, but yeah, we're definitely going to be riding with the Rams here. Puka, Kyrie, Matthew, Tutu. They're going to tear through this Cardinals defense. Eagles take on the Jets. Another interesting matchup. The Jets just have such a tough schedule after losing Aaron Rodgers. But yeah, undefeated Eagles, 5-0. I mean, we got to go with the Eagles over the Jets. They're 5-0, 141 points for, 104 points against. But yeah. Nothing really much to say. The Eagles should probably beat the Jets. Jets are 2-3. They are coming off a win, though, so, maybe they could be riding high, but they are minus 12 points, 40 points against. And, Sauce Gardner will probably be on A.J. Brown, which should leave Devontae Smith open to catch some targets. We'll see what happens, but definitely going to be going with the Eagles at the moment. Eagles team looking pretty good, and I wonder if the Eagles and 49ers will be meeting before we know it. In the Sunday Night Football slot, to everyone's dismay, we have the Giants taking on the Bills. The Bills deserve to be there. I don't know why we expected the Giants to be good. Why would we give them a primetime matchup? It just doesn't make any sense to me at all. Just another horrendous team. This Giants team is absolutely brutal. Well, the Bills team, 3-2. 159 points for, 80 points allowed. It's a very good team. The good defense, good offense. Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen always doing their thing. James Cook always on the backfield, trying to do as much as he can when available. I will say the Milano injury on defense hurts them, but not to a huge extent. Obviously, don't forget about Gabe Davis. You got Doxson, Knox, Dalton Kincaid. This is a very well-rounded team for the Bills. As for Giants, I mean, oh my gosh, 1-4. 62 points for, 153 points allowed. Oh my gosh, I have nothing to say. This Giants team sucks. There are some good teams this year, and there are some bad teams, and I can't believe that the Vikings have the same records as the Giants. Giants are atrocious. Let's get into Monday Night Football, though. We're going to end the week with a bang. Cowboys are back in primetime, second straight week. This time, they will be taking on the Chargers. That's right, Chargers coming off of their bye. Good for them, though. Good for getting a bye. Cowboys are 3-2, second in the NFC East. 134 points for, 83 points against. Pretty good defense, pretty good offense. As for Chargers, I mean, 2-2 now, a little 2-game winning streak, and they're +6 in their points for to points against. Herbert is questionable. I don't know if Eckler's even going to be back yet, and I don't know what to do about Keenan Allen. And I can't believe Michael Williams lost, though. He's out for the season. Very tough L. As for Cowboys, this offense, it's struggled in games such as the Cardinals game and the 49ers game. But this defense always tries to do their best. So I will say that I think coming off of a bye, Cowboys coming off of a loss in an away game, I'm going with the Chargers over the Cowboys. Should be a shootout on Monday night. Justin Herbert, do your thing. We're riding with the Chargers. And then, I'll complete week 6 of the NFL. So who's on buys? I should really look this up. It doesn't say. Like if I literally just type in to my laptop, NFL Week 6 buys, and nothing pops up. Nothing pops up unless is ESPN gonna help me? Week 6 buys Packers and Steelers. Oh, so that's actually pretty good because I have two friends that actually I have multiple friends that watch the Packers, and my boy Seth watches the Steelers. Steelers on a little heater. Packers kind of falling off. I don't know what's going on there for them, but yeah, those are my picks for Week 6. That rhyme? It might have. We'll reiterate: Chiefs gonna win tonight. Ravens, Lions, Dolphins, Saints, Falcons, Jaguars, Seahawks, Vikings, 49ers, Raiders, Rams, Eagles, and Bills on Sunday. And on Monday night, the Chargers get it done. Should be another good week. I'm trying to think of my plans. I mean, Friday, I got to do a lot of shopping. Got to buy some clothes. Got to try and find a Halloween costume. Got to do some posting for my company. Got to be taking a marketing test. Going to write a letter. Got to return some books to the library. Saturday, going to hang out with my girlfriend. Of course, watch UFC. Probably come back, hang out with the boys, have a couple drinks. Then Sunday, NFL time. Should be pretty fun. Should be a blast, if you will. Picks-wise, how many picks have I gotten right this year? I've gotten 44 picks correct heading into Week 6. I don't even have to do the math. I know statistically that is not so good. But yes, that's all we got for NFL this week. Fantasy-wise, I mean, I don't even know what to expect yet. It's so much easier to say what I need on like a Monday night game or like Sunday night football. But as of right now, I mean, I don't know how confident I feel about my team. I hate seeing questionable next to teams. But I mean, my 6-man team, I mean, come on. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Etienne, Raheem Mostert, Puka Nacua, Adam Thielen's getting in this week, Travis Kelce. I'm going to even throw Kyrie Williams in this week. The Ravens see Tyler Bass. How is this team sucking so hard? I don't understand how we're 0-5. Can I see my points for? Points against? All right, I'm an 0-5 team, and I actually am the worst team in the league. I can't even justify it. My cousin's 5-0. Wow, that is just crazy. Who's his team? My cousin has Joe Burrow, Bijan Robinson, Kenneth Walker, Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown, George Kittle, Isaiah Pacheco. Saints defense, Young Huku. I do not understand fantasy football. That's all I'm going to touch on. How is that man 5-0? But yeah, that's all the NFL we have for this week. And with that, we get into our surprise topic. But as always, I'm going to take a quick break. But I'll be back before you can even wonder where I've gone. And we'll get into our surprise topic of the week, which is Freemasonry. Back like we never left. That's right, Freemasons. This always has been an interesting topic to me. Are they evil? Are they just a humble organization? And it's the final day I have with my Cults, Conspiracies, and Secret Societies book by Arthur Goldwag, so I figured I might as well dive into one last topic. It's a long one. It's an interesting one. So we're going to read a bit about Freemasonry. What is this secret society? What is this organization, the conspiracy that surrounds it? Is it a cult even? I don't know. A lot of mysteries about it. Let's dive in. As with so many organizations that present one face to the world and another to its initiates, there is a run-of-the-mill Masonry, and then there is higher-order Freemasonry. Everyday Masons pay their dues, maybe dress up like a Knights Templar, which are those goofy outfits they wear from time to time. They welcome new members to their lodges. They elect slates of officers. They plan charity golf tournaments. They enjoy the occasional hearty banquet and a night of bowling, and even volunteer to clean up a fallen tree limb that a Northeasterner might have left in the city streets, which is a wind or something. Citizens who share a common belief in the essential reasonableness of the cosmos, they come together in the spirit of brotherly love and Christian charity. Then there's higher-level speculative Masonry. As the occultist Manly Hall wrote in his book Lectures on Ancient Philosophy, Freemasonry is a fraternity within a fraternity, an outer organization concealing an inner brotherhood of the elect. The invisible society is a secret and most august fraternity whose members are dedicated to the service of a mysterious Arcanium Arconarum. I don't even know what that means, but it intrigues me. So is Masonry really a religion? Walter Leslie Wilhurt's book, Masonic Initiation, explains, Masonry is not a religion. Though it contains marked religious elements and many religious references, Masonry is neither a philosophy. Albeit behind it lies a large philosophical background, Masonry is at once a science and an art, a theory and a practice, and this was ever the way in which the schools of the ancient wisdom and mysteries proceeded. All Masons, except members of France's Grand Orient lodges, which eliminated the rule in 1877, French Masonry tended to be both more occult and more free-thinking than its English-American counterparts, are required to believe in a supreme being. My grandpa's actually a Freemason, and he told me that, yes, one of the requirements is you have to believe in a god, which is what the G in Freemason stands for. But higher-level Masons are not satisfied with mere belief. They are seekers. In their mystical quest after supernatural enlightenment, they might study Quabla, read Vedas in the original Sanskrit, and perhaps engage in learned discussions about the Eleusinian mysteries and Mithrasium. I don't even know what those words mean. As apprentices proceed through the levels of initiation to the very highest degree, 33 of them in the ancient accepted Scottish Rite, also a French-founded variant on Grand Lodge Masonry. They are not only educated, they are perfected and purified and transformed. While it's not a religion, Wilmshurst, who we mentioned earlier, concludes, Masonry is consistent with and adaptable to every religion, but it is capable of going further. For an order of initiation, like the monastic orders within the older churches, is intended to provide a higher standard of instruction, a larger communication of truth and wisdom than the elementary ones offered by public popular religion, and at the same time it requires more rigorous personal discipline and imposes much more exacting claims upon the mind and all of its adherents. But according to a line of Ptolemaists that began with Ab Augustine Barruel and John Robinson, both from the 1800s, in the closing years of the 18th century, and continues unbroken onto our time with particular vehemency among relevant Russian nationalists and in the Islamic world. Okay, ignore all that nonsense. Masonry, especially illuminated Masonry, yes, Illuminati, that sounds like, is anything but virtuous or high-minded. Oh, really? Masonry's innermost, most secretive circles, these writers say, are fiendishly evil and satanic. That is what I've heard. Rather than a program for spiritual improvement, Masonry is a conspiracy to expunge private property, national sovereignty, and individual freedom from the face of the earth. Exhibit 1 is their case, is the French Revolution. Now, before I continue, I just want to say that this obviously does not sum up all Freemasons. This is directed more towards like all the suspicious ones, all the conspiracy theories and stuff, being like my grandfather and his grandfather, or his father before him, who were both Freemasons. It was more of a Lions Club of sorts, sort of like just a game together, something for the community. The stuff we're talking about here is the more mystical and the rumors of stuff we hear, but still very fascinating. The first events of 1789 were only Masonry in action, wrote Lombard de Langras in his History of the Jacobians, 1820. That's right, Jacobians as in Jacob-ins. Or maybe it's Jacobins? I don't know. All the revolutionaries of the Constituent Assembly were initiated into the third degree. Regicide, the destruction of established religion, the wholesale theft of property, all of them were the fruits of Masonry. After the Comte de Marbrad died, who was one of the leaders of the French Revolution, it has been said papers were found at the home of his publisher's wife that laid out the illuminated Mason's plans in full. Here are some choice excerpts. We must overthrow all order, suppress all laws, annul all power, and leave the people in anarchy. We must also buy all the mercenary pens which propagate our methods, and which will instruct the people concerning their enemies whom we attack. The clergy, being the most powerful through public opinion, can only be destroyed by ridiculing religion. All is permitted in times of revolution. What matter the victims and their numbers? Spoliations, destructions, burning, and all the necessary effects of a revolution. Nothing must be sacred, and we can say with Machiavelli, what matters the means as long as one arrives at the end. Oh, now that is something that I'm sure a lot of rich people do. What matters the means as long as one arrives at the end. Very interesting. What else we got? Illuminated Masons are uncanny resemblance to the secret instructions of the Society of Jesus and the protocols of the learned elders of Zion. They are probably every bit as authentic as those other two documents. Are those documents or something? I don't know. I always run into issues when I was reading out of this book, or just looking in general. When you just come across like even more in-depth stuff, you kind of gotta go around it. Whether in 18th century France or 20th century Russia, the people in the conspiracist view are incapable of intelligent concerted action on their own behalf. If they rise up, someone must have manipulated them into doing so. And if it was Freemasonry that was pulling the strings of the mob, still another set of puppeteers must have stood above and beyond them, the Jews and the wealth, according to some belief. Here's a contemporary exemplar of that mode of thinking from the blog of Henry McCoe, a PhD, posted on October 6, 2008. Freemasonry is an extension of the Jewish conspiracy, basically creating a Gentile establishment to do its bidding. The Jewish conspiracy, in turn, is an instrument of the central bankers who wish to use Jews and Masons to protect their monopoly on credit money creation. Yes, it is. Some of this is true. Macau isn't just some random nut. A child prodigy, he penned a nationally syndicated advice column for parents when he was 11 years old. An entrepreneur, he created the board game Scrupples. Never heard of that. A scholar, he holds a doctorate in English literature. And a fervently anti-Zionist Jew, he labors tirelessly to expose the sinister plans of the New World Order. Oh, is he friends with Alex Jones? The satanic criminal cartel, he calls that, has subverted all social institutions and is slowly crafting a brutal global dictatorship. I have heard a bit about that. So, who are the Masons really, and why do conspiracy mongers obsess about them so much? According to their lore, the fraternity of free and accepted Masons dates back to Bible times, more specifically to the construction of King Solomon's temple. Hiram Abiff, the temple's architect, not the biblical personage known as Hiram out of Tyre, who came to King Solomon and wrought all his work. This is from 1 Kings 7:13-14, if anyone wants to know about the Bible. Good book to read. Was said to have died protecting the order's secrets. In reality, Freemasonry probably does date back. I was going to say doesn't. It does date back to the craft guilds that the stonemasons who built the great cathedrals in the Middle Ages belonged to. Thus, why Mason, stonemason. Its members were designated free because they were permitted to travel across national borders. So, Freemason. Masonry came into being in its present form as a lodge society whose members are inducted into ascending degrees of knowledge in 1717 England. As laid out in the Encyclopedia of Freemasonry written in 1908, its boundaries or landmarks included the method of recognition by secret signs, words, grips, steps, etc., the third degrees, including the Royal Arch, the Hiram legend of the third degree, the proper tilling of the lodge against raining and snowing, against male and female Cohens or eavesdroppers, profane intruders, the right of every regular Mason to visit every regular lodge in the world, a belief in the existence of God and in future life, that's what I've heard, the volume of the sacred law, equality of Masons in the lodge, okay, yeah, I assume they would be equal, secrecy, they are very secret, symbolical method of teaching, they do love symbols, inviolability of landmarks. So maybe just not violating like lodges and stuff, or just images of Freemasonry. Freemasonry's first American lodge was founded in Philadelphia in 1730 and boasted the young Benjamin Franklin among its members. I did know that. Masonry's non-sectarian notion of God as a divine architect comported easily with the Enlightenment creed of deism, the belief that God created a clockwork universe governed by natural law and theft, and left it to run on its own. Oh, interesting perspective. Which was the religious stance of many of the intellectuals and political leaders of the day. George Washington and the Marquis de Lafayette were Masons, as were Goethe and Voltaire. I don't know those all. Paul Revere, I know him. Andrew Jackson, wow, and James Monroe. I know a couple of those people. Roman Catholicism has forbidden its members to join the Masons since 1738 because of its religious indifferentism and contempt for ecclesiastical authority. I don't even know what that means. And the inevitable conflicts between its demands for secrecy and the sacrament of confession. A ban that was reaffirmed by Cardinal Ratzinger, now known as Pope Benedict the 16th? Roman numerals can confuse me. And this was in 1983. But not all Masons are deists or Protestants. If the Renaissance brought a rebirth of classical learning to Europe, it also saw a revival of occult and magical thinking, Arab and Jewish sorcery, Kabbalah, Neoplatonic mysticism, Gnosticism, and Hermeticism. Alchemy and astrology were still regarded as sciences at the time. Royal Society members Sir Isaac Newton, know him, and Robert Boyle were fascinated by the writings of Nicholas Flamel. Nicholas Flamel's from like the 1300s, by the way. And the corpus of the alchemical texts attributed to legendary Egyptian sage Hermes Trismegistus. What are these names, guys? My goodness. Newton, not just Europe's greatest physicist, but perhaps its greatest practicing alchemist as well, himself translated the Emerald Tablet, the purported work of Trismegistus. So, to clarify, Newton translated this ancient alchemist, someone who works with like potions and stuff, and this is what he got. The true, tis true, not the true, tis true without lying, certain most true. That which is below is like that which is above. That which is above is like which is below. To do ye miracles of one only thing. Well, that's a very mystical translation. Some of these esoteric ideas have been brought back to Europe by the Knights Templar, according to one variant of Masonic history. The Templars, or the Order of the Poor Knights of Christ and of the Temple of Solomon, had come into being in Jerusalem around, 1118. Wow, that's a long time ago. As an adjacent to the already established sovereign military order, the Hospital of St. John of Jerusalem, also known as the Hospitallers, who wore black tunics with a white cross. The Templars, white tunics with red crosses, and that all sounds spooky. The Templars took their name from Templum Domini, a church established within a dome of the rock. They were called the Poor Knights because they took vows of poverty. How good of them. Led by Hugues de Payens, the first Templars were Geoffrey de Saint-Omen, Payen de Montadier, and a bunch of other Archibalds, Joffreys, and Rosals. So many goofy names back then. Though the Templars began their existence as impoverished warrior monks protecting Christian pilgrims from Muslims, their tax exemption and the wealth of their recruits allowed them to evolve into international bankers. Well, what do you know? To their income from military spoils and contributions was to add interest on loans, some of them made to Europe's crowned heads, money which the Templars invested in real estate throughout Europe. I mean, that sounds a bit suspicious to me. In 1291, when Acre fell and Jerusalem was lost to Islam, the Templars were no longer seen as crusaders, but as parasites and, worse, usurpers. The troubadour Rostand Berenguer of Marseilles, they don't make names like that anymore. That name is kind of cool. Gave voice to the growing resentment they inspired. He said, "Since many Templars now disport themselves on the side of the sea, since they so often set a bad example of the world, since they are so outrageously proud that one can hardly look them in the face, tell me, Batard, why the Pope continues to tolerate them. Tell me why he permits them to misuse the riches which are offered them for God's services on dishonorable and even criminal ends." All right, they all tried to be so poetic back then, but I do find that cool. If you're trying to write something to kind of leave an impact on the world, I mean, you might try and make it a bit mystical. King Philip IV of France, who had already confiscated his Jewish subjects' money and expelled them from his kingdom, saw an opportunity to avail himself of the Templars' treasures when a man named Escou de Florian, some accounts identify him as the imprisoned ex-Templar who was angling for a pardon, offered to reveal the secrets of the order. Among the 127 accusations he pre-offered when the existence of a secret alliance with the Saccadans, and claims that the Templars have more Mohammedan infidelity than Christian faith. The initiates are required to spit and trample on the cross. What? And they despise the Pope and contempt the sacraments. Okay. Knights Templar, I feel like is getting a bit off topic. The Templars were said to pray to an idol of a deity named Baphomet, probably a corruption of Muhammad. Baphomet is just another one of Satan's master, if you will, just one of the demons. I don't know. Just something that, if you don't give it power, then it won't have no power. But if you dive into that, then you will probably see demons and stuff. They worship cats. How about that? What is going on? I just wanted to read a bit about Freemasonry. A story circulated that they had practiced magic with a maiden's severed head. Well, this was all back in the 1800s, so it probably was true. On October 13th, 1307, is this a reliable source, Templars were rounded up all over Europe. Most of them confessed under torture, and on March 22nd, a papal bull formally dissolved the order. If no one knows what the papal bull is, look up that torture device. It will make you scream. All of its property in France was common to the king and the Pope, and its extraterritorial assets were assigned to the Hospitallers, who we'd mentioned earlier. They were the Templars' bitter rival. Most of the surviving knights were set free. Many joined the Hospitallers, actually, who would actually become the Knights of Malta in due course, just another organization. And that would have been the end of the Templars, except according to a highly dubious legend that originated within certain precincts of Masonry. De Mola, one of the leaders of it, had secretly appointed a successor. Forced underground, the Templars continued to operate secretly, headed by members of some of France's leading families, including Bertrand du Guesclin, members of the Montmorency line, and even Bourbon princes. Bourbon Prince, how about that? According to one account, the Jacobite Scots, loyalists to the disposed Stuart King James II, who broke away from the English Grand Lodge and formed Grand Orient Masonry in France, absorbed by the surviving temples, along with the Ishmaelite Arcane that they had learned from the assassins during their time in Jerusalem. Holy crap. So all these secret societies are merging into Masonic lodges of their own being. So it was actually the Templars themselves who brought Masonry into being. Masonic lodges to this day, and Des Moines is actually one of Masonry's great heroes. The Order of Des Moines, founded in Kansas City, Missouri in 1919, is a Masonic youth fellowship. Past members of this group actually include former Speaker of the House Carl Albert, Mel Blanc, who created the voice of Bugs Bunny, President Bill Clinton, movie star John Wayne, and conspiracy theorist Milton William Cooper. I always find it fascinating when all these people are connected to Masonic industries. Another source of Masonic esoterica was Rosicrucianism. Rosicrucianism. I need to learn about this word clearly, which exploded into European consciousness in 1614, stimulated interest in Hermetic mysticism and all sorts of neo-Pythagoreanism, alchemy, just a bunch of hysteria, in my opinion. But if Masonry's Templar and Rosicrucian connections contributed to its reputation for religious heterodoxy, especially in France and in the lodges associated with the Scottish Rite, that more than anything else, it was its short-lived alliance with the Bavarian Order of the Illuminati in the 18th century that made it such an enduring object of suspicion among conspiracy theorists. Okay, what am I supposed to do if it's connected to all these different conspiracy groups of places and people I haven't even heard? That's obviously going to raise some eyebrows, you know. Founded in 1776 by Adam Weishaupt, he was a professor of canon law at the University of Ingolstadt. The Order of the Illuminati was conceived as an antidote to the dogmatic religiosity of the Jesuits, under whose hated auspices he had actually been, Weishaupt had actually been educated under that, and the politically oppressive monarchies that he helped prop up. The grand art of rendering any revolution, Weishaupt wrote, is to enlighten the people. His plan was to co-opt existing Masonic lodges and reading societies and use them as a vehicle for introducing initiates to the ideas of the Enlightenment. The great strength of our order, he wrote, lies in its concealment. Well, how about that? Oh, and he wrote more. Let it never appear in any place in its name, but always covered by another name and another occupation. There we go, folks. There's the key. Let Masonry never appear in any place in its own name, but always covered by another name and another occupation, at least according to Weishaupt. None is fitter than the three lower degrees of Freemasonry. The public is accustomed to it, accepts little from it, and therefore takes little notice of it. Next to this, the form of a learned or literary society is best suited to our purpose, and had Freemasonry not existed, this cover would have been exploited, and it might much be more than a cover. It may be a powerful engine in our hands. By establishing reading societies and subscription libraries and taking these under our direction and supplying them through our labors, we may turn the public mind, which may we will. This is very fascinating. With the help of Freire, Adolf, Franz, Frederick, Ludwig, and Krieg, I kid you not, he has 6 first names, and actually I don't even know how many of those are last names, a prominent thinker and Mason, Illuminism gained as many as 3,000 adherents across Europe, including such notables as Johann Gottfried von Herder, no idea what that is, Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, and Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Oh, Mozart, whose magic flute is replete with Masonic Illuminist illusions, is actually reputed to be a member as well. To most 20th century American readers, like myself, actually 21st century, Illuminism's goal seems altogether less than horrifying. They're even inspiring in a Jeffersonian or Thomas Painian sort of way. I guess Thomas Jefferson was inspiring. The mean to regain reason her rights, to raise liberty from its ashes, to restore its man its original rights, to produce the previous revolution in the mind of men, to obtain an eternal victory over oppressors. Eternal victory over oppressors could be contributed to the God view, eternal victory over death and Satan and hell, and to work the redemption of mankind as secret schools of wisdom. We must therefore strengthen our band and establish a legion which shall restore the rights of man, original liberty, and independence. Okay. By 1785, holy cow, we're still 300 years in the past. Internal disillusion and official suppression brought the movement to a premature end. Interesting. Weishaupt would finish his life in obscurity as a professor of philosophy at the University of Göttingen. So is he from Europe? He must be. but many believe that he had simply taken his movement underground, which would not surprise me. In 1797, Abbe Augustin Barruel published his memoirs illustrating the history of Jacobinism. Oh, we're back to that, which attributed the French Revolution to a school of impiety. These latter combining their conspiracies against kings with that of sophisters of impiety. Occult lodges of Freemasonry, which long since imposed on the crudelity of its most distinguished adepts, only initiated the chosen of the elect into the secret of their unrelenting hatred for Christ and the kings. Oh, that would explain the satanic element of it. If you hate Christ, you could be satanic, pretty essentially. Well, you certainly aren't going to heaven if you hate Christ. Love you, Jesus. In other words, to the Illuminati, John Robinson, a Scottish physicist, published his Proofs of a Conspiracy Against All the Religions and Governments from Europe, carried on in the secret meetings of Freemasons, Illuminati, and Reading Societies. That's a long title for a book. A year later, this was published, and it became an international bestseller. In America, the Reverend Jedediah Morse, who died in 1826, warned his Boston congregation that the poison of Illuminism had already been introduced to the American body politic, sounding uncannily like Senator Joseph McCarthy. And we all know who Joseph McCarthy is if you went to school. Would a century and a half later, when he brandished his list of supposed communist subversives, Morse declared from his pulp, "I have, my brethren, an official authenticated list of the names, ages, places of nativity, professions, and the members of secret of Illuminati. Consists of 100 members instituted in Virginia by the Grand Orient of France." You know, let me just say something about that. That McCarthy wasn't 100% wrong. You know, I'd compare him to Alex Jones, where you miss so much, people discredit you, but you do get something right, and that stuff that's right is important. Though the panic was short-lived for his congregation, anti-Masonry would return to America with a vengeance in the 1820s. The Anti-Masonic Party put a presidential candidate on the ballot in 1832. In general backlash against secret societies, many college fraternities were disbanded. Oh no, not my frat, bro. Nesta Webster did much to repopularize the idea of the Illuminati in the years after World War I. Extreme right-wingers like America First Party founder Gerald L.K. Smith, well, he sounds like a Confederate, and the John Birch Society's Robert Welch, that sounds familiar, wrote about the Illuminati as well in 1967. Well, that's a bit closer. The playwright and anti-communist crusader Myron C. Fagan, F-A-G-A-N, Fagan, I did not say that word, traced the line from Adam Weishaupt through Cecil Rhodes, the Council on Foreign Relations, and the United Nations. You probably are familiar with the story of how one Dr. Frankenstein created a monster to do his will, but how instead in the end that monster turned on his own creator. I think that was just a, what do you call it when you use something to describe something else? Gosh, my grammar teacher, or what is it, your literature, your English teacher would kill me. He says, well, the Illuminati/CFR has created a monster called the United Nations, who is supported by their minority groups, rioting N-words, the traitorous mass communications media, and the traitors in Washington, D.C., which was created to destroy the American people. We know all about the many-headed Hydra monster, and we know the names of those who created that monster. Wow. Let's come back down to earth, everyone. Masonry, like all sorts of other fraternal societies, has suffered severe attrition in recent years. Its American membership is less than half of what it was in the 1960s, and it continues to dwindle at an exponential rate. While conspiracists still perceive evidence of its strength encrypted in American currency, the secret plans of Washington, D.C., and the Lee lines, which are geographical alignments of significant places important in geomancy or earth magic. Ooh, weird. That bind the world's hotspots together, for example, Dealey Plaza, Nagasaki, and Baghdad, fall on or near the 33rd parallel. Freemasonry is almost certainly on its last legs. Not too long ago, the Grand Maester of Brubaker Lodge 675 in Davenport, Iowa, posted a message to his brethren. Due to an apparent lack of interest indicated by absolutely no advance registrants, the Grand Maester's motorcycle ride on July 12th from Sioux Falls to Logan has been canceled. Well, that just makes me sad. But then again, perhaps he was sending a coded message to the Illuminati. Yeah, that's all I got for Freemasonry. Here's the thing about this book. Let me just tell you, is that I go to read about Freemasonry, and then we're talking about the Knights Templar, the Illuminati. I feel like all these are somewhat connected under one bigger thing. And you heard remember that one guy was saying, he was, what he wrote, how we'll describe it under other names so no one notices. You know, if you split something up enough times, it'll confuse people. So that's certainly very interesting. But that's a bit on Freemasonry. I'm not even going to put this in the title because it didn't feel like it was fully on Freemasonry. But you know what? It was super. Actually, I might just for the clicks. But yeah, that was super interesting. Super. I don't even know what to make of that. I mean, I honestly kind of want to join the Freemasons just to see what they're all about. But, you know, I do know you have to pay like a weekly due. So, I mean, or like a monthly due or yearly due or something. And I don't really have the funds to be doing that. I already spend money. I already spend more money than I make. So, I mean, that probably wouldn't be a good idea. But Freemasons, certainly fun to talk about. Always love these conspiracy theories. I hope you were all surprised by that. I was surprised. I mean, reading some of those names, those words, I mean, it can get confusing. Honestly, confuses me at times. But hey, that's how it be. But, you know, with that, I mean, this has been a fun episode, been a good one. We get to my favorite part. My favorite part of every episode, and it's usually on every episode, is when we preview or we review the upcoming or the fight night that's already happened, the UFC event. And today we are previewing UFC Vegas 81, Sodiq Yusuff versus Edson Barbosa in the main event. As I mentioned on every episode, if you don't know what UFC Vegas 81, the number means, it just dates back to COVID when they've held events at the UFC Apex. It's just called UFC Vegas, and they list the number of that event. Such as when we're in Kansas, it's UFC Kansas. When we're at the Apex, UFC Vegas 81, if you understand. And if you see like UFC 294, for example, that means a pay-per-view, which costs more money. So just to give you all a little hint. So yes, we're going to dive into all the fights. We got a loaded card. I think we were blessed with 6 fights, if I'm not mistaken. 12 fights. 6 fights. What am I saying? I was doing some math in my head, but yes. We get a 12-fight card. It kicks off at 3 o'clock Central Time on Saturday, October 14th. So I might have to watch it on my phone. But yeah, we're going to go through all the fights, give my predictions. This should be fun. So kicking off the night, I mean, if you guys could guess, do we have 2 random unranked women opening up the main card? And if you were to guess and bet money, you would be correct, because that's how they open, quite frankly, every single fight night. We are blessed with a women's strawweight matchup to open the night between Ashley Yoder and Emily Ducote. And as I mentioned on every episode, all prelim predictions are unofficial, all main card predictions are official, and go into my totals for the year, all time and for the event. So yeah, let's get into it. Alrighty, we're starting off the night. Ashley Spider Monkey Yoder and Emily Gordina Ducote. Ashley is 8-8. Emily Ducote 12-8. Wow, we almost have a negative record fighter. This is incredible. Ashley is 5'7", Emily 5'2", 6-inch reach, 69-63 in favor of Ashley Yoder. So she's got the size. She's also older. Ashley Yoder, born in 1987. October 20th, doing some quick math, that would make her 35, if I'm correct. Am I correct? I don't know if I'm actually correct. Let's see. 13 plus 20, 35. I am correct. Emily Ducote, born in 1994. She is 29. Emily Ducote, 3 fights in the UFC. She actually debuted last year, went 1-2. She lost to Lupi Godinez in 2023. Also lost to Angel Hill. So she's faced 2 pretty good fighters for her first career run. Her fights, Ashley Yoder, been in the UFC since 2016. She has gone 3-7 in that tenure. Best time, she was once on a 2-fight winning streak. Currently on a 2-fight losing streak. Last loss came in July of 2021 when she lost a unanimous decision to Jen Yufrey. She's gone the distance in all 10 of her UFC fights, which means I'm going to give Emily Ducote a unanimous decision victory here. Not much to say. I just, she's fought more recently. She's fought higher competition recently. And being 8-8 and being 35, Ashley Yoder, I'm sorry. We're going with Emily Ducote. Bantamweight up next. This is a very good matchup here. Chris El Guapo Gutierrez takes on the Mongolian Knight, Alatenge. That is right. Alatenge has one freaking name. He doesn't need a last name, or maybe he doesn't need a first name. Chris Gutierrez, I think it is Gutierrez. 19-5-2 is his record. Alatenge 16-8-2. Well, how about that? Both men have 2 draws. Very interesting. 4 inches in height for Chris, 5'9" to 5'5", and 1 inch in reach, 67 inches to 66. Both fighters are orthodox, and both men actually. Alatenge's birthday is December 14th. Both men were born in 1991, so they are 30 and they're 32 and 31 respectively. if I'm doing that correctly. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Alatenge on a little 2-fight winning streak, debuted in 2019. He's gone 4-1 with a draw in his UFC tenure. Pretty impressive. His UFC debut, he actually had a fight of the night against Badagaro Danai. Pretty impressive stuff from him. A little 2-fight winning streak. He actually, last year in April, got a 47-second TKO of Kevin Kroom. He's had no fights this year, though, so this will be his first fight of the year. Only loss is to Casey Kenny. Not too bad. Chris Gutierrez, Chris is actually the number 15 ranked bantamweight in the world. He was on a 4-fight winning streak, and it was actually a 8-fight unbeaten streak for him before he ran into Pedro Munoz earlier this year in April. He would lose that fight by unanimous decision, but, he learned a lot from that fight, and he's an impressive 7-2 with one draw in the UFC, so this guy's clearly pretty good. He has that knockout. Frankie Edgar is incredible, spinning back fist to Badgarl Danai, which actually earned up a performance bonus. Chris Gutierrez is a guy you want to keep on the map. This fight could easily be on the main card. Second on the prelims, we're going with Chris Gutierrez by round 2 knockout. That's right. I think Chris is going to rebound from his loss to Pedro Munoz and get it going. So I'll actually jot these down here because sometimes I forget who I pick for my main card. Not my main card, my prelims, because I write down all my main card, but sometimes my prelims I don't, so we'll write it down. Next up, this is actually be a fun one. We have a women's bantamweight matchup. Actually, before I move on, I should probably touch on that also Alatenge is fighting on short notice. He replaced Montel Jackson, who was actually supposed to fight Chris Gutierrez, so that's another notable point why I'm going with Gutierrez. Next up, though, women's bantamweight bout. Very interesting, the women's bantamweight division. No depth to that, so either of these women could clearly jump right into the division with a win. We have Irina Russian Ronda Alexieva and Melissa No Mess Dixon. Irina 5-1, Melissa 5-0. 5'8" for Irina, 5'7" Melissa, 68-inch reach for Melissa, 67 for Irina. Both fighters are orthodox. And this is actually Melissa Dixon's debut. She's from England, 5-0, and of those 5 victories, 3 by TKO. But it's no easy going in your UFC debut, Melissa, as you take on Russian Ronda Irina Alexieva on a little 2-fight win streak. She submitted Stephanie Egger in April of this year in a UFC debut by knee bar in 2 minutes. Irina is a submission specialist. Most of her wins are by submission. And man, nickname like Russian Ronda. That'll get you going. Clearly is talented. But my goodness. Melissa Dixon, she looks pretty good, but Irina is just, I think, too dominant. She looks like a lesbian. I'll say it bluntly. Short hair. She looks dominant. Should be competitive. We're going to actually go with Irina Alexieva, round 1 submission. Just to spice it up. Just to go with some submissions here and there. And honestly, if she wins, let's put her in the women's bantamweight rankings. Let's send her up there. Women's bantamweight, no idea what's going on with the women's bantamweight division, I should say. As, the belt's vacant. There's been no news on when the vacant belt's going to be on the line. I say we slap it on UFC 297. Julia Pena, Hawkwell Pennington. Let's do it. Who cares, really? Next up, lightweight matchup. I love this one. Terrence McKinney takes on Brendan Marotte. Terrence McKinney, one of my favorite fighters. Terrence T-Rex McKinney. Brendan the Kid Marotte. Terrence is 14-6. And just to touch on it, as I'll say a multitude of times, Terrence McKinney has never been the distance in his 20 professional fights. Absolutely incredible. Brendan Marotte, 8-1. And he's actually making his UFC debut, stepping in on short notice. He's from the New England Cartel. So he trains from, he's from New Hampshire, but he trains at the New England Cartel. I should specify that. With Calvin Kattar and Rob Font, 2 top 10 fighters in featherweight and bantamweight. Of his 8 victories, 5 by KO, 1 by submission. 4 of those finishes in the first round. Brendan, welcome to the UFC, my boy. Welcome. He's an inch shorter than Terrence and has a 3 inches less in reach, 5'10" to 5'9", and 73 to 70. Terrence is a switch stance. Brendan is more orthodox. Brendan, he's a young buck, man, 27 years of age, I guess. I guess everyone's old when you compare them to someone else, but Terrence McKinney is 29 now. Wow, Terrence getting up there. Terrence been in the UFC since 2019, where he actually lost on the Contender Series, but then would step in, be given a short notice opportunity 2 years later to take on Matt Frevola, and he would knock him out in 7 seconds. One of the greatest UFC debuts I've ever seen. Follow that up with a dominant rear naked chokehold submission of Fares Zayam before running into Drew Dober and seemingly winning the fight and then losing the fight in a 3-minute period. Absolutely crazy. Follow that up with a round 1 submission of Eric Gonzalez. Then 2023, he kicks it off, gets brutally flying knee knocked out by Ishmael Bonfim, one of the craziest knockouts you'll see by a knee. Then earlier in July, he got submitted by Nazim Sadikov in round 2 after seemingly winning round 1. But then he followed that up back in August when he absolutely ran through Mike Breeden in 1 minute and 25 seconds. Sorry, Brendan Marotte, but Terrence already went through one Brendan earlier, or Breeden, Mike Breeden, Brandon Marotte, similar of sorts. We're going with Terrence McKinney, round 1 knockout. I just like what I see from this guy. Terrence McKinney, super entertaining. I don't doubt he can make it into the UFC rankings at some point. Still got at least 5 to 6 more years in the UFC ahead of him. But man, gotta string these wins together. You can't go hit or miss every single fight. Keeping it rolling with our women. Oh, Terrence McKinney, official prediction. I keep forgetting to write these down, guys. I keep forgetting. But yes, moving on to our second women's bantamweight fight of the night, and our actually second to last women's fight of the night, as we have Tainara Lisboa, Thai Panther Lisboa, that is, taking on Ravina Canuti Oliveira. Wow. Ravina Oliveira making her UFC debut. She is 7-1 from Brazil with 6 KOs. Wow, she's actually on a 7-fight win streak. Good for her. As for Tainara Lisboa, she made her UFC debut earlier in May. Got around 3 rear naked chokehold of Jessica Rose Clark. Impressive stuff. Tainara 6-2, as I mentioned. Ravina 7-1. 5'7" and 5'5" in favor of Tainara, 67-inch reach to 65 in favor of Tainara as well. Both women fight orthodox stance. Ravina, 26 years of age. Tainara, 32 years of age, I believe. So yeah, this is an interesting one here. Tainara, coming off of a big win over Jessica Rose Clark, but Ravina, 7-1, 7-fight win streak. I'm going to go with Ravina by unanimous decision. Yeah, I like what I see from Ravina Oliveira, just from looking at her, just her stats before the fight. But yeah, and I'm actually going to write down all my predictions here, because on Verdict, I obviously do my predictions. As you can follow me on there, ZR2002. But usually for the prelims, I kind of just skim over them a bit. Which is actually what's funny, is because we're actually on the final prelim here. So we have a featherweight matchup between Darren the Damage Elkins, UFC legend, and TJ Downtown Brown. Downtown Brown. How about the interesting, very interesting. Darren, 27-11, TJ 17-10. Holy cow, both guys are in double-digit losses. 5'10" to 5'9" in favor of Darren, 72 to 71-inch reach in favor of TJ Brown. Both of these gentlemen are in their 30s, and Darren Elkins is actually an incredible 39 years old. All credit to you, Darren. Still putting it together. TJ Brown been in the UFC since 2019, won on the Contender Series. Followed that up by losing 2 of his fights in the UFC, then winning 2 fights, then losing, then winning. Unfortunately, he lost a fight the night against Bill Algeo last time out in April. But he's durable, he's intense, he loves to bring the intensity. As for Darren Elkins, this guy's been in the UFC since 2010. Absolute legend of the game. He's lost to Charles Oliveira in 2010, stringing together 5 straight wins, then been finished by Chad Mendez, lost to Jeremy Stevens. Was once actually on a 6-fight winning streak. Finishes of Michael Johnson and Mirsad Bektic before losing to Alexander Volkanovski in 2018. Then lost to Ricardo Lamas. Then lost to Ryan Hall. Then lost to Nate Lamer. But actually, since 2021, he's 2-2. Actually, holds a loss to Cub Swanson. He's coming off a loss to Jonathan Pierce by unanimous decision. It's hit or miss with Darren Elkins. And when you fight someone like TJ Brown, I'm gonna give it to Elkins. I think Elkins gets it done. And we're actually going to say round 3, a rear naked chokehold. Why not? This should just be your run-of-the-mill somewhat interesting fight to round out a prelims, but I can't really speak for what will go down. But yes, we will be going with Darren the Damage Elkins. Plus, I kind of like Darren. He's always bringing the intensity. He's always bleeding. I always like when these guys are bleeding. It shows the intensity of the fight. But yeah, let's get into it. This was a 6-fight main card. It's now a 5-fight main card. That don't bother me at all. Actually, did they change anything? I think it's actually a 6-fight main card. I just don't think UFC has changed their actually, I should double check what the main card is here, gentlemen, because I think Verdict has not updated their card. So it's probably best I double check this to see which fights are actually official for the main card, I should say, because it's either a 5-fight main card or 6-fight main card. Boom, got it. Main card starts at 6 o'clock Eastern. I now have confirmation. So yes, 6-fight main card kicks off in a bantamweight matchup between two young bucks, Christian Rodriguez and Cameron MSP Saman. That's right, the South African native, Cameron Saman. Christian's 9-1. Cameron is 9-0. 5'8", 5'7" in favor of Cameron. 71 to 67 reach inches in favor of Christian Rodriguez. Cameron Saman is actually 22 years old. Christian Rodriguez is actually 25 years old. Cameron Saman, a perfect 3-0 in the UFC, won in the Contender Series last season. So dominant. He's currently 2-0 this year and is coming off a huge round 1 finish of Terrence Mitchell. Cameron Saman is an absolute beast. Him and Dricus du Plessis looking to bring belts back to South Africa for the first time. Christian Rodriguez is actually 2-1 in the UFC, won on Season 5 of the Contender Series. Only lost to his careers to Jonathan Pierce, which is impressive. Jonathan Pierce is a very good fighter. 2-fight win streak, including being the only person so far to beat Raul Rosas Jr., the youngest person on the UFC roster. And actually last October was able to get an anaconda choke of Joshua Weems. This should be super competitive. But Cameron Saman's a dog. You already know we're going with Cameron Saman. Love that boy. Man, he looked super good his last time out. Christian Rodriguez won't be easy for him, but it'll certainly be a fun one. Moving on next to a catchweight bout between Edgar Cherez and Daniel Lacerda. This is actually a rematch from the UFC Noche card. There was a bit of controversy around that as Edgar Cherez had a standing guillotine locked in. It looked like Daniel Lacerda was out, but he wasn't. The ref stopped it too early. It was actually ruled a no contest, but we're back. We're running it back. This should be lots of fun. Edgar Puro Chikali Cherez, Daniel Miojo Lacerda. Some interesting nicknames. Edgar is 10-5. Daniel 11-5. 5'7" to 5'6" in favor of Edgar. 71 to 70 in favor of Edgar for the reach. Wow, and both of these men were born in 1996, making them 27 years old. Holy cow, these two are so similar. Daniel Lacerda, yet to win in the UFC. He's actually 0-4 with a no contest. So far this year, he's been finished by CJ Vergara in a fight he was winning, and of course got, unfortunately, no contest in his other one. But other than that, he's lost to Francisco Figueiredo, the brother of Davison Figueiredo, got knee barred in a minute, and got knocked out by Jeff Molina in 2021. So Daniel, not the hottest fighter. But as for Edgar, I mean, that was not the hottest fighter either. 0-2 losses to Clayton Carpenter and Tetsuo Taira. And then the no contest to Daniel Lacerda. But let me just tell you something. I like what I've seen more from Edgar Cherez than what I've seen from Daniel Lacerda. So I'm actually going to pick Edgar Cherez, but I don't know by what method yet. So once my verdict is out, go check out my verdict. Of course, as I mention all the time, follow me on there, ZR2002, and we'll compare picks, if you will. But yeah, we're going to go with Edgar Cherez to win this one. I'll just say by some round 1 submission, because wouldn't that be hilarious? Next up, we have, one of my personal favorites, which came together last minute, Andre Petroski versus Michel Pereira. And let me just tell you, I'm already going to tell you, I want Andre Petroski to win. I love this guy. I remember him from season 29 of The Ultimate Fighter. I'm an Andre Petroski fan. But let me just tell you that he's stepping on short notice, taking on Michel Pereira, who's supposed to fight Marc-Andre Barriault. Michel Pereira moving up in weight from 170 to 185. It'll be interesting to see how it goes for him. Andre is 10-2. Michelle is 28-11. 6 foot to 6'1", favor of Michelle Pera, and both have a 73-inch advantage. Reach, I should say. Michelle's birthday was actually on October 6th. He turned 30 years old. Andre Petroski, 32 years old. Michelle Pera been in the UFC since 2019. In that tenure, he's gone 6-2. Never had a boring fight. I mean, his UFC debut lands a flying knee, performance bonus. One of his only first loss in the UFC was to Tristan Connolly by unanimous decision. Fight of the night. Probably should have been a split decision. He was goofing off in that fight, jumping off the cage, doing backflips. It was crazy. Then his other loss in February of 2020 was when I first got into watching UFC. He unfortunately was destroying Diego Sanchez, then hit him with an illegal knee, and Diego was a bum, and it counted as a loss. But since then, 5-fight winning streak, wins over Chaos Williams, Nico Price, Andre Fiallo. Most recently, in May of 2022, he beat Santiago Ponzinibbio in a fight of the night by split decision. So he puts his 5-fight win streak on the line after not fighting for over a year and a half almost against Andre Petroski, who is a perfect 5-0 in the UFC. As I mentioned, came from the Ultimate Fighter. 3 finishes in the UFC, came off his biggest win when he beat Gerald Meerschaert by split decision back in August. So quick turnaround for Andre. You love to see it. I honestly, I don't know how he's going to win. I might go by unanimous decision, but I'm riding with Andre Petroski. Love you, man. I'm definitely tagging him in my Insta post. Bantamweight's up next, and we got a fun one here. Let me just tell you, we got some ranked competitors here. As number 14, Adrian Yanez takes on number 13 ranked Jonathan Martinez. Jonathan Dragon Martinez, if you will. No nickname for Adrian Yanez. They should call him Adrian. I have no idea. Jonathan is 18-4. Adrian 16-4. 5'8" to 5'7" in favor of Jonathan. Both have a 70-inch reach. Both are freaking. Actually, Adrian's 29. Jonathan is 29 as well. My goodness, the matchmakers are crazy for this one. Dead even. Adrian Yanez suffered his first UFC defeat earlier this year in April when he got brutally knocked out by Rob Font in just under 3 minutes. It was crazy. Just was leaving his chin wide open. But before that, he had been 6-0 in the UFC with 5 finishes, 4 performance of the night bonuses. I mean, this guy was crazy. Oh, my goodness. Came to the Contender Series, and I mean, head kick knockouts. I mean, round 3 knockouts, round 2 knockouts. Fight of the nights against Davey Grant. Round 1 finishes. Adrian Yanez, so entertaining. And Jonathan Martinez, I mean, he's on a 5-fight win streak of his own. Debuted in the UFC in 2018. Since then, he's only lost 3 fights. But yeah, since 2021, little 5-fight winning streaks. Picked up a big finish of Cub Swanson last year. And earlier this year, had a close fight against Said Nurmagomedov back in March. I personally did not think he won that fight. I personally thought Said won that fight. Just an interesting note, but that was a takedown battle, and Jonathan won the striking battle. So that should be notable. I will still be going with Adrian Yanez. I do still think Adrian Yanez is super good, has amazing boxing. He just has to work on his defense, and he should be able to put Jonathan Martinez out. But it'll be interesting to see what happened, because Jonathan Martinez, I mean, he's been knocked out by Davey Grant before, so, I mean, we know this guy can be finished. Heading into our co-main event, we're heading down to women's flyweight. At least when you look at the rankings, it's near the bottom, as we have number 9 ranked Jennifer Maia taking on number 11 ranked Vivian Araujo. Jennifer Maia, no nickname. Vivi Araujo. Oh, how clever. Jennifer is 21-9. She's actually, wow, she is 35 years old. Yes, wow, she's 35 years old. Vivian Araujo is 36 at the moment years old. She's 11-5. Both women are 5'4". A 4-inch reach advantage for Vivian Araujo, though, 68-64. Vivian's been in the UFC since 2019. In that tenure, she's gone 5-4. Big win. I guess she beat Andrea Lee in 2022. That was her last win. Since then, she's lost to Alexa Grasso and Amanda Hebus, both by unanimous decision. So, I mean, less than impressive UFC career, if I'm being honest. Jennifer Maia, though, debuted in 2018. Oh, actually, really. Not the most impressive career either, but, I mean, she fought against Valentina Shevchenko in 2020 for the UFC belt. Actually won round 2 over her. She actually holds a round 1 armbar of Joanne Wood. Since then, I mean, not done much. She's on a little 2-fight win streak with wins over Marina Moroz and Casey O'Neill. Actually, big upset over Casey O'Neill earlier this year in March in London. So I'm going to give this one to Jennifer Maia. I think she might just outbox, maybe even outgrapple Viviane Araújo. I don't know. I don't really expect much from this fight, but we'll see what the two ladies bring to the table. Let's get into my favorite fight of the night. I mean, I'm excited for that Cameron Saman fight, the Andre Petroski fight, but I mean, this fight, going to be a banger. Number 11 ranked Sodiq Yusuff and number 13 ranked Edson Barbosa in the men's featherweight division. They will battle in the main event. I love it. I love it. Super Sodiq Yusuff takes on Edson Jr. Barbosa. Sodiq is 13-2. Edson is 23-11. 5'11" to 5'9" in favor of Edson Barbosa. 75-inch reach to 71 in favor of Edson. Edson, man, been around a long time. Turned 37 this year. Wow. Sodiq turned 30 this year. So 7-year age gap. Somewhat notable. Edson, currently 0-3 in main events. I found that very interesting. He's been finished in rounds 1, 3, and 5. So, I mean, that will probably impact what I pick. But he is coming off of a huge upset over Billy Quarantillo. Was supposed to be sort of a gatekeeper role. But no, he was not having it. Knocks him out in 2.5 minutes with a nasty knee. Super impressive. Edson, been in the UFC since 2010. Just an absolute legend. Fight of the nights, crazy KOs. I mean, that KO of Terry Eatum, one of the greatest I've seen when he just flatlined him. He's had losses against Donald Cerrone, but he's beaten Bobby Green, beaten Paul Felder. Fight of the night against Tony Ferguson. He's beaten Anthony Pettis, Beneil Dariush. Wars against Khabib Nurmagomedov, Kevin Lee. Even finished Dan Hooker back in 2018. This guy has seen it all, done it all. Happy to have him. But, 1-0 this year, so good for him. As for his opponent, Sodiq Yusuff joined the UFC in 2018, coming off the Contender Series. Since then, almost perfect. I mean, he's gone 6-1, and his only loss is a unanimous decision to Arnold Allen. We all know how good Arnold Allen is. He gave Max Holloway a run for his money. Sodiq Yusuff, I mean, he's had 3 finishes in the UFC. He's actually coming off of one, but he hasn't fought since my birthday of last year, October 1st, 2022. So it's been a while since he last fought. That might impact him a bit, but I always love seeing videos of him on his YouTube channel. And I'm actually going to go with Sodiq Yusuff by, we're actually going to say, not to be too, risky, but Edson's been finished in rounds 1, 3, and 5 in his other fight of the nights. Fight of the nights, main events. So I'm actually going to go with Sodiq Yusuff by round 2 knockout. Sodiq Yusuff, he's had 2 knockouts in the UFC in round 1. I think maybe this time it's a round 2 knockout for him, but should be very interesting to see how it goes. Sodiq Yusuff, I will be rooting for you. The winner of this will be fighting up in the featherweight rankings. Loser, definitely fighting down. But yeah, should be a pretty good main event. I'm very, very excited for that. I always love seeing fighters that I somewhat enjoy seeing, like Sodiq Yusuff and Edson Barbosa, both guys I like. So it'll suck to see one of them lose, but that's just how it goes. Apologies for that. But yeah, that's all I got today, folks. I like how I say that's all I got, but when I went over an hour and a half of all sorts of stuff. But yeah, this was a pretty fun episode. I enjoyed talking about it. I'll have to think of some new surprise topics. I mean, I'm almost done with the Hobbit book, so I can maybe talk about that a bit. I do encourage everyone to read before bed. It certainly does help the mind a bit, and it's always good to dive into a story here and there. But yeah, I mean, we talked about the upcoming boxing events, all the new UFC moves, events, fights that have been going down. Dana White's Contender Series, this series, season finale, a little bit of that MLB playoff check-in. We talked about Freemasonry a bit, the Illuminati, all sorts of fun stuff. Even went over our NFL Week 6 predictions, and of course, we gave our UFC Vegas 81 predictions. I love it. Oh, we gotta recap everything. As you know, all my picks, we're going with Emily Ducote, Chris Gutierrez, Irina Alexiev, Terrence McKinney. Who do we go with? Did we say Ravina? Did we say Ravina Oliveira is going to win that one on the prelims? Yes, we're going with Ravina Oliveira, Darren Elkins, main card, all the official ones, Cameron Saman. Who do we go with? Edgar Charez, Andre Petroski, Adrian Yanez, Jennifer Maia, and Super Sodiq Yusuff to cap us off. Love you all. Much appreciative. Yeah, we should be back next week with another episode. But yeah, no more Dana White's Contender Series check-ins. We'll see where we're at in the MLB playoff. Guys, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate all my listeners all over the world. It means so much to know that just one person listens to this podcast. So thank you guys so much. Have an amazing weekend. No matter when you listen to this episode, have an amazing life. live the life that you want to live. All right? God bless. Hallelujah. I don't know how to end this. See you later.